It's nice to see you all. Nice to see you all. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Welcome to our podcast. This is your host, Sino Agueze. Hello, I am Terry Kant. Nice to see you, Terry Kant. Donna Lou, it's nice to see you. All right, let's see here. Let's see. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, Wilna. How are you? Prophet Nakori is in the house. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to see if I can share this somewhere else. Hello, Janice, Daniela, Crop. You all on YouTube and Facebook, you have to come on Instagram. You got to come on Instagram to see this live. Hello, Barbara Ward. It's nice to see you. You guys will have to come on Instagram to see this live. All right? You got to come on Instagram. So I'm giving everybody just a few minutes here, 2 or 3 minutes to come on Instagram. All right? Join me at Instagram. I've posted the link on my Facebook pages. The link is there. All you have to do is click the link and join us live on Instagram. It's going live on Instagram. We're going to give everybody just a few more minutes, and then we are going to go live. My guest is going to be joining me very, very soon. Hello, Fort Worth. Nice to see you. All right. So let's see here. Okay. All right, let's do it this way. Okay. All right, that's better. Okay. So those of you on Facebook, you're going to have to come over to Instagram. All right? Those of you on Facebook, you're going to have to come over to Instagram. Hello, Angela Kenny. Hello, Beatrice. Hello, Mrs. Clark. You all are going to have to come over on Instagram. All right? Come over on Instagram. And our guest is already here. I'm going to be introducing her in a minute. All right? So I'm going to be introducing her in a minute. I'll introduce her in a minute. And the rest of you can join us. Okay? All right. So everybody switch over to Instagram. Those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook, please join us on Instagram. And in about 30 seconds from now, we're going live. I'm going to invite my guest, Laura Bird. She's going to join us all the way from the United Kingdom. So I believe it's about 5 p.m. there. She's going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about why men fear rings and women embrace rings. All right. Very interesting subject. Very interesting topic. So let me go ahead and invite our guest. And every one of you, please join us on Instagram. Is that okay? All right, here we go. All right. There we go. Okay. I believe I've made that. Okay, here she is. Hello. Hi, Laura. How are you?
It's so nice
good. It's nice to see you again. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I know. Thank you for having me.
Have you been?
Very good.
How is it in the UK? What's the weather like over there?
It's a bit grey.
I see.
Standard English weather. It's nice though. The trees are green and it's summer and spring in England's lovely.
Does the sun ever shine in England? You know, when I visit the UK, sometimes I see the sun shining, but most times it doesn't shine that much, is it?
It doesn't.
I see.
It shined yesterday.
I see. Now over here it is hot like crazy. You know, I live in Mississippi, and so the humidity here it's terrible. Sometimes even at 2 a.m. in the morning, it's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit with no sun shining. You know, that's how, because it's a flat land, so you don't have any hills or mountains to absorb all that heat and so on and so forth. But it's nice to have you. How have you been? How have you been personally? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I see.
Life is good.
Life is good. So what is God doing in your life? What is God telling you in this season that we're in? You know, and of course that's a separate question, but you know, we're waiting for people to join us. So just wanted to, yeah. So how is God dealing with you? What's going on in your life when it comes to your relationship with God? What's going on with that?
God is bringing people. God is surrounding me with good people, with loving people, and God is showing me that following Him is not a scary path. I think there's this idea, right, that if I start following God or if I start following Jesus, everyone's going to judge me and everyone's going to think because there's some framework around that.
Yeah.
And I also believe that. But honestly, every time I post something or, you know, I had people on a webinar yesterday, they've all started going to church. They've all started praying. They've all started reading the Bible.
No way.
Yeah, I'm getting like 4 or 5 people a week saying, thank you, I've started going to church. I mean, it's amazing.
And are they telling you why? Are they telling you why? I mean, obviously God is using you to influence and impact their lives in a very remarkable way. But are they giving you any details around this whole thing? Why people, when they listen to you, they find themselves going back to church, loving God, and even those who do not know God want to know a little bit more about God? Why do you think that's happening with you?
I think people can relate to my story. I think the main aim, when I tell my story, I talk about this impending emptiness.
Wow.
That I felt, because I didn't grow up in the church, right? I had this big empty gap here.
Wow.
And I always thought maybe I need a relationship, maybe I need food, maybe I'm hungry, maybe I need a glass of wine, maybe I need to travel and live here and live there. It was God. That was what was missing. And so when I tell my story, I think people go, well, I have that feeling. So, right? That's where it's coming. That's what people I think are relating to.
Just the other day, I came across a video on my Facebook page. It was Will Smith. You know, everybody knows the popular actor Will Smith, and he said something incredible. Somebody had asked him what his net worth was, and he said, my net worth is about, you know, they told him that we've heard that your net worth is around $350 million. You know, what would you have to say about that? One of the things he said that was so remarkable was, you know, he said, I wish that God could give everybody that gift, because once you have that gift, you're going to realize that nothing on this planet, no amount of money, no amount of fame, no amount of material things, nothing external can ever fill that gap. Not even relationships, right?
No.
Do you think he's correct on that?
100%. 100%. I think Jim Carrey said something similar, like, I hope everyone gets the thing that they think they need so they can realize that it's not it.
Oh my God, say that again, please. I want everybody, you've got to hear this. This is awesome. Say that again, please.
He said, I hope that everyone gets what it is that they think they need so that they understand that it's not it.
It's amazing. You know, we all have dreams and we want this and we want that. You know, you want the Porsche, you want the Ferrari, you want the house. And then finally when you get it, it's like, okay, so what's next? This is not creating the feeling I thought it was going to create. I'm not any happier. You know what I mean? It's almost like you continue to feel this void. And so I want to talk to the audience, your audience, our audience here. I think we all can resonate with this. Like, you know, we're in chase of something. There's something we're chasing after. Everybody here is a merchant. You know, we're in a sense, businessmen and women chasing after the dream. But it seems like the more we chase it, the more we discover that there's a vacuum that only God can feel. There was this, I think it was some experiment they made. I think there's a YouTube video on this. They wanted to find out the happiest people on the planet, right? So they traveled to all the continents of the world to find out who are the happiest people on the planet and why are they happy. I'm telling you, man, you know, and it's not an endorsement of poverty, but a lot of the people that were the happiest were some of the poorest people on the planet, the people who didn't have all the material stuff. And I think that definitely proves that you cannot feel a vacuum that only God can fill with anything else. It doesn't matter what kind of name you want to put on it. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I agree. I would imagine they have community. So,
yes,
right, that's
yes,
important.
yes.
And for some people, the more you have, the more you're distracted from God. So I believe that God builds you from the ground up, and if you don't figure this out, you lose it, and then you've got to build it again.
Wow.
So I noticed this cycle of like I build something and then it would disappear, build something and disappear, and it was because I was being told to build with God and not without. Because when you build with God, you don't need that much. Like I don't need anything. I don't. There's, you know, what I mean, there's nothing else that I need right now. And because you know you don't need anything, you don't spend frivolously, you don't spend time with the people that aren't good for you. You're really cautious. And so with the poorer communities, I mean, they say they're poor in the physical, but I mean, they're rich in heart and they're rich in family and they're rich in community. That's where the happiness comes from. So this whole mentality of like, I've got to chase this and get this and get this, it's just distracting you from the truth of who you are. And society's designed it like that.
Wow.
It's as long as I can get this person far away from God so that they don't realize that they are a son or a daughter of God. Because if they realize that, can you imagine what would happen in the world? If everyone realized, I am a daughter of God, you are a son of God, what can I do with that? If everyone realized, we wouldn't be living in this world. We'd be living in a very different world. So it's like we must distract. And the more things we have sometimes, the less we really know ourselves. And you know, the more you have, the more you have to carry.
It's
The
true.
more you have, the more you have to take
Very
care
true.
of, right?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And do you feel like, before we get into the topic we wanted to address today, do you feel like, you know, it's harder for people particularly from my own personal observation, where everybody seems to be chasing something, right? I think life is far much better if you're able to kind of narrow down the essentials and just focus on the essentials, focus on what's important. You know what I mean? There was also another experiment they did. They were asking people who had reached, you know, just had maybe a year or a few months to pass on, to die. What was some of their greatest regret? Have you ever watched a video like that before? And if you have, what did they say? What do you remember them saying?
I wish I loved people more. I wish I told people I loved them more. I wish I spent more time with my family and my kids. I wish I spent more time with my wife. I hear those. I've never heard someone say, I wish I made more money.
Wow.
I've never, ever heard that.
Wow.
Have you ever heard someone say,
Never. I've never heard, you know, I wish I built my career more. I wish I developed my business more. None of those people on their deathbed ever say anything like that.
No.
It's always, I wish I spent more time with family. I wish I invested more of my energy with the people I loved. I wish I treated people right. Is that the same thing you hear?
Yes. Yeah. It's all about community, love, family, marriage, and yet people aren't really looking for that in society. I think people are looking for relationships, but I don't think they're looking outside of God for it. And I always say, if you're looking for it, you're not ready for it yet, because when you're ready for it, God will literally bring the woman to the man. That's it.
Wow.
Done. That's what I believe. So I could be wrong, but I just noticed the stories of these couples that are really happy and they're united with God, and God is the center of their marriage. Is that they were like, well, we just met, and that was it. Like they just met and they made it work. Wow. It's not like you're scrolling through Tinder trying, oh, he's cute, I'm gonna say yes to him, and I'm gonna say yes to her, and it's a little bit different. And it's not, you know, people are marrying prematurely and they're dating prematurely. When you are ready, when you're a wife, right? He who finds a good thing, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Yeah. When she is the wife and he is the husband, God says, I am going to present this woman to you. This is the wife I have. And brings her.
Wow.
So we don't see that a lot today, and that's why we have so much divorce.
All right, so let's get into our topic today. For those of you who are just tuning in, we want to really welcome you all. And I know Laura and myself in particular, we want you all to send us whatever topics you think you want us to address. We're going to kind of go through some of those topics and see which ones we can address. But this is something we're going to be doing for now. Once a month, who knows, it may evolve to being twice a month. We'll see. You know, Laura is an extremely busy woman, so it's such a privilege to have on this platform. But let's talk about that. We want to talk about the subject, why men fear rings and women embrace rings. In addressing this topic, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, Laura, is this. Do you feel like, looking at the times we live in, that the dynamics of the marriage union has dramatically changed? And if it has, from what are some of the differences from what it used to be to what it is now? I hope this question is making some sense.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I see a lot of selfishness.
Wow.
And I feel like, I could be wrong here, but this is just how I see it. I feel like it started in the 80s.
In the 80s?
Because in the 80s, what happened, this is what I observed,
okay,
right?
Okay.
I was born in 89, so
okay.
This is what my mother's told me.
I get you.
I noticed the women that, my mother herself, and I noticed the women that she spent time with. There was sort of this feeling of like, I'm the victim because I'm a wife.
Wow.
Right? And there was movies about it, like Shirley Valentine, for example.
Yes.
Movies about these poor housewives that were stuck.
Yes.
Cleaning and ironing, and it was this poor sob story.
Yes.
And I believe that because the serpent went after Eve, right, with the vulnerable one, with the emotional one. So
yes.
Women were kind of being attacked in a way, and told that being a wife made you a victim.
Wow.
That's how I perceive this.
Wow.
So then we start seeing women divorcing. Suddenly, by the 90s and later on, you start seeing women leaving men, women leaving men, because I'm so unfulfilled, right? My mum would use the word just in front of the word housewife.
Wow.
I'm just a housewife. I'm just a mother. I'm like, but you're my mother.
Wow.
You didn't, so there's this feeling of that's not enough. So the women are leaving, and then the men are kind of left sort of, okay, I've got to rebuild my life again, but I'm 50, I'm 60, I don't want to rebuild my life again. And then there's this lost feeling. These men can't really don't really know where to go without the wives. So we see this brokenness, and then of course those children saw it, and then they have a fear of, well, I don't want to be trapped in just a housewife. That sounds really scary, and I don't want to have to go through that. So I'll just, without realizing it, we have a lot of single women my age because we saw that, and so on and so on. So that's how I've perceived it. The women have seen being a wife, being the victim of being a wife, and have society's glorified the working woman.
Wow.
So, right, so you see that there's a tipping. So it's sad because being a mother and a wife is the highest honor. And you know what?
Say that again. Can you say that again? Because I need my sisters to hear this. And this is why I've been telling everybody, they've got to come to your page. They got to follow you. I'm telling you. Say that again. There was just something you mentioned, like what is the highest honor, and why do you think that's the highest honor in your opinion?
Being a wife and a mother is the highest honor.
Being a wife and a mother is the highest honor. Why is that, Laura? Why do you feel like that?
Because you're irreplaceable.
Wow. And I feel like, there's this story in the Bible where Rachel was pregnant with twins. And instead of referring to, I believe it was Jacob and Esau as individuals, they were called nations. She was told you have two nations in your womb. And so part of the reason why, Mother's Day is one of the most, I think after Christmas is Mother's Day. I was told Father's Day is like 26 down the pole. So you're not just mothering a child, you're mothering a nation. You know what I mean? Like you are the cradle that for civilization. In fact, from conception, from the very womb of a mother, you are mothering whole civilizations, not just a child. You're mothering generations, you're mothering a lineage. And if that's not the greatest honor, this is the way you sustain civilization over time. So if that's not the greatest honor, I wonder. And I feel like, honestly, I believe this is diabolical. I don't know if you believe that there's some diabolical means to this whole thing where the paradigm has shifted, where women are thinking it's my career, I want to make more money, I want to show people that I'm the independent woman, I'm my own boss, I don't need to listen to anybody, I don't need to answer to any man. And I think that all these fears have roots. Something is driving it. But tell us about that. What's this whole thing with women wanting wings, embracing wings? They want to be fly. You hear the language, I want to be free, I want to be free, I want to be free. I don't want to be under the control of anybody. I don't even want anybody that I can be accountable to, or anybody I can report to, or anybody that I can answer to. What's going on with all of that?
It does go back to the selfishness thing.
Wow.
To a degree, because if you think about it, I mean, I saw a video on TikTok or Instagram the other day, and it was a woman saying, I don't want kids because I don't want to take care of anyone.
Wow.
And
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
That's
But somebody took care of you, though. Like, the reason why you're an adult is because somebody took care of you.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. But some women think freedom is being alone. That's not freedom.
Wow.
And what society's done is told women that what is normal is what is
abnormal is now normal.
Absolutely. So a lot of women think that being half naked is freedom. They think that sleeping around is freedom. They think that being single is freedom. It's not. It's slavery. A woman who doesn't have, I'll get in trouble for this, okay? But I promise you.
And who gives you all this trouble, Laura? Who troubles you?
I get it. The DMs come through, and then the comments come through, and the feminists don't like me. But
wow.
I do believe they'll see it eventually. A woman that doesn't have someone to take care of is an unhappy woman. We are literally designed to take care of someone.
Wow.
Right? So we were designed, God gave you us. God looked at Adam in the garden and said, he needs a helper. And he makes Eve. So the woman is designed to be the helper. So it's in our DNA, I want to help. I want to help, I want to help, I want to help.
Wow.
So if I haven't got a man to help, and I don't have children to help, or a family to help, where's that energy going? So a lot of women have suppressed it because they don't know any different, but as you get older, you become more confident and more conscious, you feel it. You're like, what is... I remember a few years ago waking up thinking, I'm so sick of thinking about myself. What am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to do today? It's like, I want to make breakfast for someone else and make sure they have a good day. It doesn't matter. To take ourselves out and say, it's got nothing to do with me, I'm here to serve. That is, a woman will go to bed satisfied every night if she lives like that. But women have been told that's slavery, so she moves away from it, so now she's powerless.
Because one of the things you hear ladies talk about a lot is, I'm tired of living in a man's shadow. I want my own life. I want my own dreams. I feel confined. I feel constricted. Even when oftentimes there's no proof of that constriction. I'm not saying that you don't have them, but oftentimes you don't really find them like it's being talked about, right? But so why do you think what's this insatiable desire to, I want to be free? Like, free from what exactly? And free into what exactly? I think the men want to understand this from the men's perspective.
It's a bit of an illusion. The woman that says she wants to be free is trapped.
It's
trapped. So that bit's true. That bit's true. She wants to feel free because she feels trapped, but she's not trapped by a man. She's trapped by her own mind.
Oh, wow.
So it gets projected everywhere else.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. So a woman, for example, a woman that doesn't have God, she'll feel trapped. I used to feel trapped when I was in my 20s because all I saw from my mother was, oh my God, being a wife is slavery. So I had that in my mind. But the truth is that when you're in a relationship and you've got men and women that love each other, that woman is stronger, faster, she can run quicker, she can swim deeper because she has the safety of a man. Wow. Every woman should be in the man's shadow or under the man's thumb because that's where it's safe. And you can do things. See? So I don't know why I did that, but anyway, that's safer. It's safer because you have the safety of a man. But women have been told the opposite. So women, they want freedom, but they trap themselves in their own thoughts. And what they believe is slavery is actually the road to freedom. but they've been told the opposite.
Wow.
It's a brainwashing.
Wow. You know, when I study the scriptures, when I study the Bible, and one of the things that has really helped me over the years, I mean, I'm talking years, is every time I come to a crossroad where I'm trying to discover the mind of God on a particular subject, what has worked for me is I can always go back to the first 12 chapters of Genesis. Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 12. There's something Jesus said in Matthew chapter 19 when he said, it was not so in the beginning. So every time you want to see a blueprint, how things are supposed to be, I go back to the book of beginnings. I go back to the beginning. The beginning tells me what God originally had in mind, right? And so you look at this, when you go back to the woman, for instance, it's interesting, but it's revealing. It's revealing in the sense that God provided everything you could ever provide for the man and the woman. Okay? In fact, he said, you may freely eat. Whatever your heart's desire, you've got a whole garden. You know, when I took the measurements of the Garden of Eden, it's not like your grandmother's, backyard garden. It's made up of 4 nations. That's the size of the Garden of Eden. You couldn't even walk it if you tried it. But that's how huge this garden was. But it does appear that there was something Satan understood in the nature of a woman where, and this is something I feel our sisters need to fight against, this lack of contentment, always wanting more. The grass has to be greener somewhere else. This, because all I'm hearing, right? I experienced this in my own personal life. We had moved into one of the most beautiful neighborhoods on the planet, one of the most beautiful houses you could live in. And within weeks, I'm being told, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And it's like, okay, so what do we have to do to make you happy, right? Like, because I think that, and I know that my sisters may fight me on this, but I think that most men want to make their wives happy. I'm telling you, I have seen majority of the men, forget about those deadbeats and, most men want to make their wives happy, okay? But why do you think that is just so much discontentment when it comes to our sisters? I see this, I'm not saying you don't have it with the brothers, but I think the majority of this discontentment, I see it more with the ladies, with the sisters. Why do you think that is? Why is that continuing to grow and grow and grow when you find a lot of women just discontent? And then sometimes when you ask them, they don't even know what even makes them happy. You know what I mean? It's like, and if you don't know it, how will I know it? How can I know it if you, the person, you don't even know what makes you happy? Talk to us, Laura.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of women, when they are unhappy, they look for something. First of all, they look for something outside of themselves. They think maybe it's the house, maybe it's the neighborhood, maybe it's the partner, maybe it's the kid. I don't know. It's not. You should be able to stand in a white room with nothing around you and feel content.
Wow.
If that's not connection to God.
Wow.
So I keep doing it. It is funny.
It's a way of telling you they like what you're saying. It's stars. It's like it's stars.
It's because I'm
fireworks, yeah.
So that feeling is an internal feeling. So nothing on the outside can change that. Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. It's an internal problem. So it takes an internal solution.
Wow.
So we have a little gap that's where God resides, because our natural habitat is God. There's a video, I've seen it. This woman says, fish, their habitat is water. Take them out, they die. For us, it's God. Take them away from God, they start to die. Wow. That's what we see. So women are not content because, first of all, there's that piece missing. Because I know women that go to church and they preach the Bible, but they're not happy because they don't carry God with them. There's a difference. Right? Just because you're going to church every week doesn't mean you have God.
Yes.
You won't walk with Jesus. So it's a feeling, and you put that feeling on everyone. And then there's the difference between the woman that is here to serve and the woman that's here to be served. So again, what women have been told is, if I have someone that worships me, I'll feel good. If this man compliments me, I'll feel good. If this man buys me this house, I'll feel good. No. If you compliment him, you'll feel good.
Wow.
If you amplify glorify him, you'll feel good. If you serve your neighbors, you'll feel good. So a lot of the women that are unhappy, it's because they are looking for something to gain and have instead of actually why they're here.
Wow.
Because if we turn everything around, right, again, it's the inversion that we talk about,
Yes.
you know, the devil versus God.
Yes.
It's like God says, well, I'm here to serve. Jesus wasn't here to gain anything. He was here to
minister,
purely
to serve. Yes.
Absolutely. He asked for nothing. He needed nothing. He was here to purely serve. And that's showing us why we're here. So a lot of women think, oh, okay, it's because I'm not in the right place. And I understand this. I've done this in the past. This was me in the past, so I get it. But looking for all these different things, and maybe I just need this and that. And then they start even looking outside the marriage. Maybe I need someone else.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, fine. You're going to follow that man then. But he's not the answer. He's not. He's not.
Do you feel like social media has kind of made things worse because there's just a spirit of comparison where everybody's on everybody's social media page? So, you know, and of course everybody's posting the best of themselves, right? They don't show you these other sides of themselves. And this spirit of contentment is just, it's really growing and it's getting out of hand where, you know, it's almost like there's a fulfillment of a specific prophecy. I don't know if you've seen this prophecy, Laura, in Daniel chapter 2. Daniel is one of the greatest prophets that I truly respect in the scriptures, but he was talking about the end times, and he used this very subtle phrase. He said, they will mingle themselves with the seed of man, but they will not cleave one to another. I want to repeat that. They will mingle themselves with the seed of man. Okay, and he was referring to a value system that was going to eventually destroy all civilization, right? A moral value system where he was saying in the last days they will mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they will not cleave one to another. And of course, the cleaving of one to another talks about the marriage, right? The marriage. Do you feel like we're seeing a lot of this prophecy fulfilled now? We're seeing it in practical terms.
Absolutely. Because there's no intimacy anymore.
Wow. Wow.
That's it. Like there's not, it doesn't, it's, I mean, it exists, but it's not that common anymore. So to be intimate with, like, you have couples, and intimacy can be lots of different things. You can have an intimate conversation. You can literally share your heart, talk about stuff that's on your heart, be vulnerable with each other. That's missing these days. So there's a physical, you know, lots of people are being physical together, but it doesn't mean anything. That, you know, there's, I mean, dating apps, people tell me all the time, like, oh, I was talking to this guy and I was going to see him and then he just ditched me. And then I went to go meet this guy, never heard from him again, never heard from her again. It's all fake. It's false. It's not real. It's not genuine intimacy. It takes time to build a relationship, and you want to take time to build it because then it's stronger when the storm comes.
Wow.
But people are in a hurry, right, to build. But they're building on sand. They're not building on proper ground and having that intimacy. And I believe that the more genuine couples we have married under the Church of God or with God with them, the world will stand stronger. But we have women just, I don't know, physically receiving men and men physically being with women and small interactions here and there, but nothing's real, nothing sticks.
Nothing is real. Nothing is real.
Yeah, nothing's real. So we need more people to understand that. We need more people to, like with the prophecy that you're explaining, we are seeing that. We talked in the last podcast about the man being the seed and the woman being the soil.
Yes.
And this idea of like, oh, we don't need men is the most ridiculous thing. If men disappeared today, the whole world would collapse.
I'm hearing that, you know, and I don't think that when these people say this, they really think about what it is that they're saying. Like they give it the thought that it deserves. Like, where's this language coming from? I don't need a man. I want a man, but I don't need a man. You know, and so what is it that you're trying to prove? Can you talk about that, Laura? Why do you think I hear a lot of women say this now? What's going on with that?
Well, women have been told that if they need a man, or if they're being told it's codependent and that it's weak to need a man or to rely on someone. There's this idea of like, you've got to figure out everything for yourself.
Wow.
You have to do everything for yourself. And for some people, it's just brainwashing. And for the really young generation, you know, think about when we were 18, it's like, I want to be cool, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So like, yeah, we don't need men. And we're just trying to fit in and say what everyone else is saying. Some of it's just a trend and they don't really think about it. But I think a lot of it is just uh, women have been told that if they need someone, it makes them weaker, and they've been told that they have to be like men and fight like men.
So that's why a lot of men experience masculine women, a lot of masculinity among the females now. It's rare to find a true feminine. I'm not saying they're not there. Either it's not been amplified but a lot of men feel like we can't find this feminine woman anymore. Like you said, being a wife and a mother is the highest honor for a woman. But the reverse of that is women are saying, no, I want to be a boss chick, I want to be a boss lady, I want to have my own empire, and I want to have all this money so nobody can tell me what to do. That's what I want.
Yeah, you see a lot of that. It feels exhausting when you say it like that, because that was me when I was in my 20s. It's not that I didn't want anyone to tell me what to do.
Yes.
It was nothing like that. It was just I wasn't raised to be a boss, but I wasn't raised to be a wife.
Yes.
I always wanted to be a mother, but I wasn't raised to be like how I'd raise my daughter. I'd say,
wow.
This is how you take care of a household. This is the cycle where you clean the bed sheets, and this is the cycle where you do the dish. Like this.
So I come from a culture where a lot of young ladies were taught to be wives. Do you feel like that's not almost non-existent now, particularly in the modern world? And if you haven't been taught or discipled or trained on how to be a wife, how can you be one, right?
You could, yeah. You wouldn't even think about it. I didn't even think about it. But my argument is that it's in you.
Oh, it's in you because that's the way God made you, right?
Absolutely. So women are tired because they keep fighting it, right? It's in you, right? So if I look back when I was 20, like I was in a relationship when I was 20 to 25, I lived with this man. He'd come home late at night, I'd have dinner on the table. The house was clean. And I still actually worked and studied, but I cooked for him, I cleaned for him, I decorated the house, I took care of him.
But a lot of women define that as being slaves, being weak. I mean, who the heck is this man for me to be doing all these wifey things? One time I asked somebody that was in my life, I said, how are you even being a wife to me? Like, you said you were a wife, but how are you wifing me? You know what I mean? It's like, and the response I got was, your idea of being a wife is not my idea of being a wife, and in spite of that, I did the cleaning, I did the cook. So, and I don't come from that background where I feel like a woman's job is just to live in the kitchen. You know what I mean? That's not how I was raised. That's not my complete mentality. Because a lot of the men that you meet, clean, cook, men love to do domestic things. The men I know, okay, all involved. But a lot of women feel like, when I'm subjugated to, when you tell me that being a wife is just serving, I get tired of that. That comes across like I'm being a slave.
Yes, which I understand. But you notice that the more you soften into being feminine, the more you want to do those things.
What? Are you sure? Say that again. The more, I've never heard it said like that, ever.
Well, I'm speaking from my own experience, but just the more I softened in my own life,
yes,
the more I was like, I love cleaning. I clean every day. My house is clean, I still clean. I love doing the laundry. I love emptying the dishwasher. I'm like, great, everything's in its place. That makes me really happy. Cleaning the bath, like even cleaning the bathroom. I genuinely really like it. But when I was more in my masculine, I hated it, and I'll tell you why. I hated it because I was doing so much in my masculine that I was like, oh, and now I've got to go and clean. Oh, and now I've got to go and do these things. Wow. So it's like an add-on for women. But when a woman softens and slows down, like slow down, just relax, and you don't have so much stress on you. It's like, I love cleaning. I love coming home to a nice home. And I want my partner to come home to a nice home and a nice meal. It's genuinely enjoyable. But that just, the more you soften, you notice that, because women are so good at making a home. They're really good at making a home. You buy her a house, she'll make you a home, right? So we love, decorating and making it nice and lighting candles, and you come home and it's like, oh, I'm in my home, right? She does that. The home is the womb. So she knows exactly what to do with it, to make everything, and she knows how to manipulate the home for his benefit.
Wow.
she's tuned into that, so she knows what he needs when he walks through the door.
Wow.
She knows if he needs peace. She knows if he needs a conversation. She knows if he needs a bath. She knows if he needs food. She knows if he needs to go out for a walk. She knows.
You see a woman who make baths for men? I don't know. I'm sure I'm speaking for the men here. Most men don't experience this. They don't. Maybe maybe a century ago, but the last 50 years, man, what I'm hearing from men is scary. Like if men would open up and really talk about how they feel, there is a clear phobia for men to even want to get married now, and we're going to talk about that next. There's a clear phobia on that. Before we get to that, right, Laura, let's talk about your understanding of the biblical concept of marriage. I feel like the biblical concept, okay, and the biblical concept of marriage, I feel like a lot of that has changed. A lot of that has shifted. It's shifting culturally, but I also believe that that shift is also diabolical, right? It's shifting for a reason. A lot of people get so excited about the wedding, okay? They get so excited, particularly, of course, and I'm not saying my sister shouldn't get excited. They should. But that's mostly where the excitement is wearing the white gown, the cake, so on and so forth. But the marriage, we spend years going to school, to graduate from school, learning insights and knowledge through observation, through study, through experience to graduate in life. But when it comes to the two things that make the world go round, one is relationships, particularly marriage, and then finances. There's little to no discipleship on that. There's little to no education on that. There's little to no preparation on that, right? So what is your concept of a biblical marriage? What did you think God had in mind when he created the marriage institution? What did he have in mind? Did he have, was it for a man and a woman to come together and marry for life? Was that what God had in mind?
I think so. I mean, if you think about Eve was made for Adam.
Wow.
She wasn't made for Jake or Sam or David.
So you're saying Eve was made for Adam. So you believe that the woman was made for the man. Do you believe in that concept?
Yes. Yes. So everyone has someone.
Wow.
Everyone.
Because a lot of so why is it that, and of course, the Bible says in the last days a lot of people be forbidden to marry. There's going to be a whole lot of message about not getting married. Why do you feel like my sisters feel like, no, I am not made for a man. I am made for me. I'm not made for a man. Yet, when God looked at the man, and because the man was looking at the animal kingdom, and he noticed that every male version had a female version, and so God says, okay, I'm going to make your female version. I'm going to make this female version for you. So why do you think there's a lot of opposition, resistance, rebellion against that order, the order of God?
Well, I guess it goes back to what we were talking about with feeling trapped and feeling enslaved. Women think that it makes them less if they're made for something. Women think, oh, Eve was made second, so she's not as good. No, she was made second because God realized how necessary she was. God looked at Adam and said, you need help.
And so if Adam needs help, then that makes the woman indispensable. Yes?
Yeah, 100%. And irreplaceable. Eve is the only person who can do, like, when a woman loves a man, when she's with that man, she knows everything about him. You could be 6 hours away and she knows if you're having a bad day, and she should be ringing him saying, do you need anything? She's so in tune with him because she's made for him.
Wow.
Right? But it's women's intuition that we know. So women say, all right, if he's cheating, I would know. Well, then you should also know if he's hungry. Because it comes from the same place.
Wow.
It comes from the same place. So I think that women fight it because they think, again, it makes them lesser. They think, oh, I'm not going to be under a man's shadow, or I'm not made for a man. You are made for a man. But these women tend to be rejecting God at the same time. If you can't even submit to a man, submitting
How
to
can
God
you
is
claim
not
to
passive.
submit to God when you can't even submit to the man he's made, right?
Yes, because you submit to God through the man.
You see, and this is one thing I feel like a lot of people don't understand. They just feel like, no, I'm submitting to God, I'm submitting to God. But it's like when the scripture says, stop saying you love God if you can't even love the person next to you, right? So the proof of your love for God is how you love other people, right? And I think that when it comes to submission, or when it comes to the husband loving the wife too, the way you love God is by loving the woman that he's provided for you, yes?
Oh, yes. Yes. And a man will have more when he's with a woman that he loves, because what he does is he looks at the woman and says, I love this woman. I want her to be so happy. I want to have everything that she desires. So I can see the smile. I can see her having the experience of having those things. And so what God does is he takes the love that the man has for the woman and he gives it to the man. He gives,
Wow.
he looks at his woman and says, I want her to have that. Well, let's say it's a house. I want her to have that home. So God says, I see the love that you have for this woman. I'm going to give you the home so you can give it to the woman. So a man, like a man will see his real potential when he's in love. If you want to see how far you can really go with your life, you find the woman that you love and you cherish her, and God will give you everything because he wants the woman to have everything. And you both, it sort of bounces off the two of you. You see, like it goes back and forth.
So Laura, why do you think that it's feeling like there's a war between the man and the woman? There's a war between the male and the female. Why are we seeing ourselves as the enemy? Why are women seeing the men as you all are the enemy, and the men are seeing the women like you all? Instead of really recognizing who the enemy is here, we're fighting what I believe to be one of the most powerful gifts that God gave to us. For the man, the most precious gift he gave to us apart from Christ himself is the woman. For the woman, the most precious gift that God gave to you outside of Christ is the man. But the enemy has turned this whole thing upside down, where we are now seeing each other as the enemy. You are my enemy, I'm your enemy. And I'm telling you, man, I'm speaking for men right now. They feel like women are out for an all-out war. And the fear of even wanting to commit now is getting less and less and less. A lot of men are not interested to commit now.
True. I see that. I think the reason that people are against each other is because they're looking for power. So when we blame someone else, we feel powerful.
Wow.
So what you'll notice is a false sense of power, because again, it's not from God. It's not real power. It's a false sense of power. But I see certain women that sort of, I don't need a man, and I don't like men, and men are awful. There's something in them that feels a little bit powerful because they're in control. They're making choices. They feel powerful because they feel like a hero in their own suffering.
Wow.
Does that make sense? So it's like the victim mentality, which runs rampant in women more than it does men.
Wow.
That being a victim of your life, what they're trying to do is they're trying to create connection, and they're trying to create a sense of power because they feel so powerless in their lives. Because a real sense of power is for me to say that we unite. I need you and you need me, and that's it, and there's nothing else around that. It's black and white. That's powerful because then I lean on you, you lean on me. There's power in that.
One of the most profound concepts in how much we need each other is the procreation of a child, right? The father provides 23 chromosomes as well as the mother, and so you see that in the procreation of a child, a woman cannot have a child without a man. A man cannot have a child without a woman. But for me, I see the laws of God. I see the principles of God in everything that he does. So when you look at this biological miracle, right, of having babies, I think what God is trying to show us is how indispensable we are to each other, how much we need each other. If something is going to be created, if something beautiful like a baby is going to be made, two of you are going to have to come together to make that happen. So when you now hear women telling us, I don't need a man, I don't need a man, it goes against what God had in mind from, you know what I mean, like from the beginning. And but what's your take on that? Like, God made us in a way that we both really need each other, and I think we're losing out when we don't understand God's intent for the marriage, and we are embracing this foreign philosophy, demonic philosophy, I think we are the ones losing out. If you look at the statistics right now, you see what's going on around in the world, and you can trace it all the way back to broken homes, broken families, and so on and so forth, and it's just being perpetuated from one generation to another. But what's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I think all the people telling you that they don't need a man or a woman is lying.
Wow.
They're just lying to themselves, because it's a protective mechanism.
Wow.
You know when you're a kid at school and you lose a race and you're like, I didn't want to win anyway. I didn't want the trophy anyway. I didn't want to win.
Yeah.
It's like a way of not having to feel the utter emptiness and disappointment of being single.
Wow.
Now that's not to say that being single is always disappointing, because some people work on their character and have a wilderness season and really build themselves and work on themselves. But there are people that have been single for a very long time and there's not many prospects, and really the fact that is a very empty feeling, and instead of looking at it and going, wow, I'm lonely, they'd rather say I don't need a man. And women do it more because women are less able to be accountable. So I teach a lot of my students.
Why does that man feel like that? What is it in the woman that makes her lack accountability? Because I hear this all the time. Not even from men, from women themselves. Like I hear them say, we hate to take accountability. What is it? The shame? Is it the guilt? Is it pride? What is it?
I think it's the guilt.
Is the guilt?
I think it's the guilt, because I was literally taught how to apologize by someone. I was really taught how to do it by being shown an example, and that was about 4 years ago. And I must say, I can take full accountability of my mistakes.
So there was a time you had problems with taking accountability?
Yes. So I can speak on this. I'm credited to speak on this topic. So the reason that back then I didn't want to apologize is because if I apologize for something I've done to you, I have to acknowledge that I've hurt you.
Wow.
And to know that a woman has hurt the man she loves, like he's hurting because of what I said, that we are so in tune with our feelings as women, we have big feelings, that feels horrible. It really is almost unbearable. It's an unbearable feeling. So we would, me then and lots of women would rather just say, no, I didn't, that's not my fault. Because we don't actually want to feel that pain. But actually that pain is your initiation into coming closer to your partner, like to actually getting closer, because you can say, I'm really sorry. I mean, when I've had to apologize to a man, you should see the look on their face. They're like, what?
Wow.
What just happened? What just happened? They're shocked.
And because they rarely ever get it. And I'm telling you right now, if our women understood this, that if you just apologize, rarely do you see a man not showing like so much love when they just feel like, okay, you've taken accountability for your actions. You know what I mean? And I think it comes from this deep place where, that whole thing, and I want you to talk about this, the independent woman, right? What is right with the independent woman? What is wrong with the independent woman? What is wrong with that notion? Because I keep hearing this. In fact, you have mothers teaching their daughters how to become independent now. They don't know how to teach them how to become wives. They don't know how to teach them how to follow the biblical order, but they're teaching them to embrace independence and independence. Is it independence from a man? What independence is this?
I think it is independence from a man. Because again, remember I said about these 90s women?
Yes.
The mothers, the 80s, because again that goes with it. So what they're told is, I'm trapped if a man, if I rely financially.
If I rely upon a man.
Yeah, because I can't get out. Like there were women that literally can't leave because he earns all the money.
Yes.
She's got nothing. So she's literally trapped. So if she's unhappy, she can't go anywhere. So it comes from a good place in the sense that women shouldn't feel that they're trapped. It comes from a genuine place, but it's gotten very twisted and distorted. Like
because a lot of the men I know want the women to have their own things going on. I mean, some of the friends that I have, they want their wives, they want their women to have their own stuff. I mean, Proverbs 31 was a woman, she was a boss in some area, like the way she went about life. She owned businesses, she owned land. I don't think that men I don't think that men don't want women to have that. What the issues that men have with women having that is they've seen that it easily gets into their head. Okay? So for example, a man can provide for a woman for 40 years because he's expected to, right? It's part of his life, it's part of his DNA. So it's never talked about, right? But not a lot of women can do that for long. I mean, if a woman had to carry the family for 3 months, the whole world will hear about how she's the breadwinner. I believe this is the reason why God couldn't make the woman the head. He knew that when it came to power, it's not in their DNA to handle that. I mean, you know, correct me if you think I'm wrong on this.
It's not. It's not in our DNA. We can't do what you do.
Wow.
But if women just accepted that, but then again, you can't do what we can do.
Yes.
Could you sit and listen to a child screaming and crying day after day after day?
No, I tried it. You know, I had 7 for the whole week, so you know. So
Right.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But,
yeah.
But I could.
Yes.
I could, and I'd stay sane. So you can't do what I can do, and I can't do what you can do. So that's why we just have to let each other be who we are. Like, let men do what men do, and let women do what women do. And how much easier is that? Like, you know, we have to own and be proud of what we can do, because, you know, like, we probably wouldn't, you know, you say women, if they had to work and do all that for 3 months to take care of the family, everyone would know about it. And I'm sure if a man had to listen to the kids screaming 24/7 day after day, his
Everybody
bros and
knows.
mum would know all about that. So, because it's not your natural place. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you and that you have to try and do it. You don't, because I can do that. We can do that. So, you know, it's like if you let men and women take their natural role, everything runs smoother. You know, but there's so many people that are afraid of that. And the independent woman, I mean, the good part is that if for some reason he lost his job, she could
Step up and help out.
step up, which is very important, because a helpless woman, that puts even more pressure on the man, because he knows if he needs a week off work, they're in trouble because she can't do anything. She's not skilled in any way. She can't do anything.
Let me address this one point. I'm not sure if my sisters understand this, and let the brothers correct me if I'm wrong, right? Why I feel like a lot of men, okay, feel pressure, because when a woman talks about a man providing or being the provider, okay, oftentimes it comes across like she's just talking about the money, okay? It's the money. And when you hear a lot of the women talk these days, it's almost like if he's not making a certain amount of money, you know, it's just the money, the money, the money. And it seems like their understanding of being a provider from a man's perspective is squarely on the money. But what they don't understand is this, and I'm speaking for men. It's not that men do not want to provide. I've never seen a good man, okay? If we had all the money in the world, I think a lot of men out there are going to spoil their wives. I think a lot of men out there are going to spoil their families. The men that I've come in contact with, and I'm talking thousands of them, I've been to 40 nations. Some of those nations have been there 10 times over. So I come across men. I have a lot of men's gatherings and meetings and so on and so forth. The men that I know want to provide. This is what the issue is. They don't like the pressure. They don't like to feel like, okay, the pressure to provide is solely on me, and this is driven in my face over and over again. It's so rubbed in that I'm now panicking. Okay, even if I'm good at making money, I find myself panicking because everybody has put this responsibility on me. This is why men go into some really deep depression. This is why their manhood gets robbed from the core when they feel like they're not providing, right? And so I'm bringing this about because provision is not just money. Provision is infrastructure. Provision is visionary. The vision, the direction, the structure, the guidance, the order. There's a whole lot more to being a provider than just the money. But why is it that all the women see, they don't even ask about his character anymore? The first thing they see is not the character, it's not the factors that sustain a marriage long time, right? and I want to get back into this in a few minutes, where men love marriage for life. I don't think men want to come in the middle of somewhere and the family is pulled under and it feels like they're starting all over again. I don't know how women feel about this, but men want marriage for life. But I feel like a lot of people are just going into it right now. It doesn't matter. Any little thing is like, any little thing, I have a chance to come out, I have a chance, I can bail out at any time. I'm not thinking long term here, right? And then when you look at the court system and so many other factors, men just feel like it's not working for me. There's no benefit for me now to get married like it used to be. Well, what do you have to say about some of the things I pointed out here?
Well, I do think first of all, with women, again, it goes back to the Garden of Eden. Women are really good at living in a fantasy.
Wow.
So we're actually quite good at that. It's actually a coping mechanism. If a woman's gone through trauma or stress, she lives in a fantasy in her head.
Wow.
So that makes for quite a dangerous wife, because that wife is not going to stay. Because as soon as she starts to feel something, or maybe that will be better over there, she's gone and she's out. So, those women probably aren't great to be married to at this time, until they've kind of gone through a bit of healing and maybe grounding. So you do see that a lot. And I think that men believe, and I don't think it's true, but some men believe that there is no value in marriage anymore. But of course there is. The difference.
Yes.
Well, you tell me, because I'm not a man. So
okay.
You say there's pressure on you to provide.
Because it's so pronounced, right? Because the way you hear it over the airwaves, over social media platforms, men may not come out and say this, but I'm speaking on behalf of men. Yes, men feel like they feel paralyzed, they feel crippled because of the pressure, the burden to provide. And you are talking to men who actually want to provide, right? But the fact that it's almost like it's become like a chain, that they're tied with this chain. If you fail to provide, we're done. If you fail to provide, this marriage is over. That fear, so it doesn't matter how much a man has. What if 20 years from now he loses it all? What if 20 years from now he falls sick? And so when I tell you that men are scared of this, yes, they are. Now, there are a lot of men here. If I'm making this up, you'll correct me, okay? But that's so. I think the language needs to change, right? My belief about this is not because what you're hearing people say now. I'm even hearing a lot of well-known female preachers preaching this. What do you bring to the table? And it's the way they say it. You know what I mean? What do you bring? And in the mind of a man, they understand what it is they're saying. It's not what can you, is what can we. There's something, this is why the scripture says, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they two shall become one flesh. And I wanted to get your opinion on that. Like, what does one flesh mean? When a man and a woman becomes one flesh, how do they see life? How does becoming one flesh help them deal with life, right? Because when you're one flesh, it means what hurts me hurts you. What makes me happy makes you happy. We have one goal, one direction, we have the same value system. We think, we have the same predominant thought. We're going in the same way. So when problems arise, it's not what can you do, is what can we. I think that if the we thing is in there, there's nothing a man and a woman, there's nothing a husband and a wife cannot overcome. No matter the problem that life throws at them, if they're together, if they organically merge as one, then your pain is my pain. You get it? This is the way most men think. But it just feels like, no, you're on your own. We need money now. We need provisions now. So they're paralyzed by that fear. Even men who've got the money, they're paralyzed by that fear.
But do they have the right woman?
No. I mean, the kind of woman, so what they're hearing from today's women is almost like, if you don't got it, if you don't, let me put it an American way. If you don't have the dough, I don't want to know. That I'm telling you, like, so that's so in their head is like, so what happens when I don't? So you love me. It comes across like you only love me for the money. I can't see anything beyond that, right? Because if I stop having money, and so what I'm saying is a lot of women seem like they're not content. For me, the way I see money is money. If I have enough to fulfill my God-given dream, okay, I don't even have to have millions. There are a lot of people who have millions and still broke, have millions and are in debt because they borrow. They drive the best cars, live in the best house, they project an image of success, but they really don't have money. If you look at their lives, they might have filed for bankruptcy so many times, right? So they project like they're wealthy, but they're really not wealthy, right? I'm saying that to say, but there are people who may learn to live with 100,000 and they've made it work. But men don't feel like today's women are content with that. They're not focusing on this amount of money will work for our family. They're looking at everybody else and it's like, if you don't make 500,000, if you don't make $1 million, I don't want anything to. I'm telling you, this is how a lot of men feel. Right. You know what I mean? So it's almost like the amount. They don't even care about your character, how you think, what your value systems are. At least that's the way it's being presented. That's how men are beginning to feel, and that's why they're so afraid of rings, so afraid of getting married now.
Yeah. I think what's forgotten though, because there is an agenda on social media. We see this all the time, right?
Yes.
I need a man who's a millionaire. A lot of it is just young girls that want to look good on Instagram. You know, I know it sounds really sad, but it's a real thing. Like, I just want to be with this millionaire on Instagram or whatever. A lot of it's just image. But really, like, if we look at relationships, you know, women that are looking for the money, she's not looking for love, so she's not marriage material. So if you think about it, you put her to one side. You look for a woman that's marriage material. She's not it. That's okay. There's men that aren't marriage material as well. You just don't put too much focus.
You don't go there. Yeah.
You don't go there because it's part of the agenda, and then the agenda wins, right? So it's like, no, you're looking for a woman who loves you. Because when a woman is looking for love, the love builds. You become one and then you build together. So that means if you build together, you fall together. Wow. And that is intimate. So a woman that wants a man that's already self-made or built, who's already built everything, that's a woman that's a masculine woman, you know, because you can't amplify him. She's asking for a man that's already done what she should be doing for him, which is to amplify everything that he has. So it's not a feminine woman. So when you're really in that, when you own your masculinity, those women aren't even on your radar. You know, like how, let's say you're a Christian person and you go to church.
Yeah.
A partner who doesn't go to church and isn't interested in going to church, you wouldn't even look at that person as a partner. It wouldn't even touch your radar because you would want someone that has that same sort of belief as you. So that should be how it is for these women. These women aren't ready to be wives. Let God do the work he needs to do to carve them into wives. They're not ready yet. But the thing is that because we put our attention there, we forget that there are great women out there. Unfortunately, the women I work with that are wife material, men that aren't husband material.
You know, a lot of men are always asking, and I'm sure you get this question, where are these women? They can't seem to find, so where are these women who want to be wives? Where are these women who believe in the biblical model of being a wife, being a mother? Of course, you know, I've heard a lot of sisters say things like, because they have to take up the responsibility, right? And that's another thing I want us to talk about. I'm not sharing this in this podcast, because at the end of the day, Laura, it seems like, in spite of all the issues we're having in relationships, one thing that we can't seem to address is the purity, the sanctity. It seems that virginity is mocked. Virginity is you can go back to high school and you come across some friends, if they find out that you're a virgin, they make fun of you, they ridicule you. It's almost like you have a badge of honor. You're hearing, you know, people in their 20s, 21. There's this lady I saw, and I'm not trying to attack. The goal is, you know, here is very compassionate, so we're not attacking people, we're not pointing fingers. That's not the goal of this podcast. but it just seems like there's a lot of sleeping around. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not even if you're unmarried or married. It doesn't matter if you're married or not married. The one thing that you see is just people just casually just sleeping around. You know what I mean? Like, and I think there's a reason why God wanted people to wait. Let them get married, and only within the context of marriage share that beautiful union or experience. You know, but so you see a lot of that right now. You know, men in a sense are not afraid to even hit on married women to see if they're going to get some green light. There's a lot of DMing left, right, and center. So it's just the world, you know. And this is another reason why men are also afraid, because you know we think visually. So when you can't find a loyal woman, in the mind of a man, it's like, oh my God, you know. So you mean to tell me this woman I'm supposed to marry has been handled this way? I'm done. I can't go there. But I don't know what your take on it. I don't know what your take on it is. That.
Well, I think because we have like what do they call it? Hookup culture.
Yeah, hookups. Yeah.
So now that they have a name for it, it becomes easier. As soon as you label it, it becomes normal. I don't know if you've noticed
Wow.
this. So it's like, oh, ADHD, anxiety, bipolar, all these things. It's normal now because it has a label, but it wasn't before. So when you give it a label, it becomes accepted in society.
Wow.
In my opinion, for a woman to hook up with a man that she does not know, she has to be extremely close. Her heart has to be extremely closed, because women attach, right? Women attach themselves just by being with a man intimate once.
Wow.
So in order for her to keep going from man to man to man to man to man, she has to be completely closed off. And unfortunately, because you know, I tell my clients to wait for marriage, and that's the look that they give me is always like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm sure."
Wow.
Yes, I'm sure. But it's so strange, and it's normal to hook up with strangers and sleep together on the first date. But when you do that and you give it away like that, it's what you're basically telling the other person is that this isn't sacred, this isn't special, and it's of no value. You don't have to do any work to have it because it's not valuable. And unfortunately, the women that do that I have like mentored, they become more and more and more numb. You can't see anything behind their eyes. You know, you look at them and they're like dead behind the eyes. And sadly, the contraceptive pill actually has a big part in this, because when the woman takes that pill,
yes,
it starts to numb her.
It starts to numb her.
Yeah, it starts to harden the heart. So when I used to work and do healing work back in the day,
yes,
I could spot a woman on the pill. As soon as she looks at me, I can tell, because I can't see any life behind your eyes.
Wow.
And I would say to them, I can't work with you if you're going to be on the pill, because I can't feel your energy. I can't feel any of your parts.
Serious?
Yeah, it used to be. It was in my terms and conditions.
It was in your terms and conditions with working with women. If they're on that pill, you will not work with them because their heart is closed.
Yeah.
Wow.
It literally shuts the heart down. So that's why you see women that are on the pill, when they come off of it, they're no longer attracted to their husbands, because everything changes. Like, you know, when you love someone, you love the way they smell, the way they look at you, the way they feel, their skin, everything. You love everything about them. And then you come off the pill, and suddenly what you love changes, and his pheromones repel you now. You're not attracted to him anymore, and your heart starts to open, and you realize that you're not with the person that you want to be with. So I tell women to stay away, because if you also ask men, which is what I've done, I've asked my clients in the past, have you noticed a difference? And all men will be thinking now, have you noticed a difference if you're with a woman, say you're with her for a year, and then she goes on the pill? Notice how she changes. She shuts down and becomes masculine.
Wow.
So every man who's watching this can look back and go, oh yeah, I see it.
I'm telling you, Laura, I went through this, and one of the things I couldn't even wrap my mind around is, because when you say this, it may come across like you're trying to exaggerate, you know, but you can live with somebody who shows you zero. I'm talking zero emotion, zero affection, whether it's through words, whether it's through action, whether it's through body language, and you know, But if people don't know, obviously they don't know, because a lot of people don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You know what I mean? But even men are beginning to feel like not only are people sleeping around a lot, so it's hard to find a loyal woman, but it's also it's almost like when you notice that there's been a huge shift when women are no longer content in men, they start sleeping around with other women. So there's a lot of woman to woman, you know what I mean? So you've got both of that. What I experienced was an emotional shutdown. It was completely shut down where I felt like, it just felt like you were living with another man, honestly. And so there was no emotion. And I'm talking not even the breadcrumbs, right? And I think most men feel like this, whether it's in the voice, the gestures, the body language, the love, it's just platonic. Like you said, there's no real organic connection. Man, I went through that for months, for years. And so it just comes to a point, it's just like, what is this? You don't even know how to define it. You know what I mean? So, and I think that the whole social media thing in the midst of all of this is not helping with bringing about that organic connectivity, to strengthen the bond that exists between a man and his wife, or the wife and the husband. So I don't know how we're going to change this. You had said something that caught my interest, which was there was a time when a lot of women did feel oppressed, and rightfully so. For thousands of years, men just felt like they could get away with murder. And so in some places they were treated horribly. I feel like now we see the reverse, where there's almost like it comes across like women are at war with men. But you are feeling like both are going to fully crumble, and out of this broken system, God is going to build something new. What do you think God is going to do with both broken systems?
Well, you know how I've talked about being starved before? Like, women are being starved of good men, and men are being starved of good women. Wow. When you are starved for a long period of time, you start to appreciate things, right? Wow. Like, when you do your fasts, I would imagine at some point during your fast, you'd think, I'd love a salad.
Everything looks good when you're fasting. Everything looks good when you're fasting. You're no longer picky. It's just like, I would eat that, Yeah.
You drop your sandwich on the floor, it doesn't matter.
I know.
So suddenly, and then when you eat it, you appreciate it. And then when you eat that same meal every couple of days, or you have that sandwich for every lunch for a week, you are still grateful for it, and you appreciate it. And every time you make food, you look at it in a slightly different way, because you know what it's like to go without. So I think we're living in a time of starvation. I think women are starved of love, and I think men are as well. And men are more starved of being seen. I think a lot of men feel invisible. I always tell my clients, if you see a man on the street, say hello. It's the smallest gesture, but to say hello, or at least smile, because men need to be seen in the world. Men think they're being erased, and they're not, right? I have a T-shirt that says the future is men and women, and I wear it to the gym because it's like a baggy T-shirt.
Wow,
So
I love
when
that.
I wear it,
What does it say again? It says
the future is male and female.
The future is male and female. Wow.
Because there was this whole company that was built called The Future is Female. It was actually built by a lesbian couple that wanted to spread the word of women, right? So I wanted to go against that, and so mine says the world is male and female. And men tend to look at me and go, Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for acknowledging me needed. Men don't feel needed in the world. So men are being starved. Well, I think we're both being starved of our natural God-ordained gifts. Women are being starved of not having anyone to nurture, and men are being starved of not having anyone to help and give to, because there's no one that will receive and see these men and appreciate men. So we're going through this time at the moment of starvation, and I think that eventually what will happen, I'm hoping, is that people will start to really appreciate what they don't have. and start to build and really get serious about looking for a partner. Because, you know, going on 3 dates a week is not, people think that that's serious about being with a, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. That's just to me games and filling in time. It's like, why don't you really get good at, like, look at what type of wife you would want to be, look at what type of husband you want to be, and how do you become that before you meet her? Because the man recognizes the woman because she's made for him. The woman doesn't recognize the man. The man recognizes the woman.
Wow.
So a man has to be ready to recognize that woman, right? Because he will know it's her because he was made for her, whereas it's different for women. So when men prepare themselves for that, and what kind of husband do I want to be? And it doesn't mean you've got to be a millionaire now, but it means that maybe you have to have a mindset of like, I want to build with this woman, I want to love this woman, I want to make sure she has what she needs, so I need to have the mindset of strength and growth and love, or whatever the case. Maybe some men have to work on their emotional intelligence. I've known men that, you know, if you cry, he just goes, oh, stop, and just walks away. Like, you can't do that. That's horrible.
Yeah, he's not being available for her. It provided in that sense. Yeah.
Yes.
But let me ask you this, Laura, because we've got a few more minutes, and we're gonna let the audience go. What should we be? What should be the message when it comes to relationships from God's perspective? What should we be hearing? What contributions should the listeners, all of us, make to change this paradigm, to change this dark wind that is blowing over relationships where we continue to see each other as the enemy? How is this thing going to be repaired? How is it going to be turned around? We know God is going to do it, but what role? How should I start in my own life? How should you start in your own life? What is the language we should amplify now, in spite of everything else that is going on in the world?
I think that people need to realize that until you have your person, life doesn't start yet. Life starts when you unite. So the most important thing for everyone right now is to find your person. Not to go out and look for them, but to get ready for them.
Say that again. So not to look for them necessarily, but the way you look for them is to get ready for them, right?
Get ready for 100%. Because until you have that, there's only so much you can do. And people know this through the opposite way when you sort of look at, okay, I've fallen out with my wife, and now everyone in the office thinks I'm grumpy today. And I am, because I've fallen out with my wife. You know, if you're going through a tough time with your partner, your whole life.
Yes, that's how it works for me. If it's not good at home, nothing else works for me. That's just, I feel like I thrive within the context of a great marriage. Man, my gifts, my everything begins to just amplify 1,000 times more. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean I can't be successful without it, but nowhere near, nowhere even close when it's within the context of marriage. I think it has its place. The way God designed it, even on how to raise kids. You know, God's method of raising kids is just, I'm going to bring the male and the female and let the kids live in that environment. The environment will disciple them. What they see dad live out, mom live out in their own relationship, that's what they're going to grow in. That's what they're going to absorb.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if everyone was to realize that that's the most important thing, and then ask yourself, if I don't see that as the most important thing, why don't I see it as the most important thing? So instead of denying it and going, no, she's wrong, it's not. The most important thing is that I pay my rent this month, and that I don't know, get to work or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, people don't see that, Laura. I'm telling you, people don't see marriage like it's that important anymore.
It is the most important thing.
Wow.
Like, outside everything, it is the most important thing. Like, if you want to serve God, serve others, even if you want to work and make loads of money, if you have the right partner by your side, day in and day out, you can do it. So
this is why I guess the Bible says 2 heads are better than one. You know, if one falls, the other one is able to pick. If one is cold, the other person is. I see that now. It says one can chase 1,000, 2 can chase 10,000. I mean, look at the degree of that, right? That's what you're saying. You know, I recently discovered in my study of the scriptures, I always say, you know, the first thing God created was light. The first thing God created was time. Now I know the first thing God created was family. When He created the earth so you could have a place to place the family. So the first thing God really created, everything else was just a byproduct. But the first thing God really created is the family. And the first thing Satan destroyed was the family.
Yes. So we have to remember that, is that family is still under attack. So that's why, rather than having people say, oh, we didn't have a World War III. We're in World War III. It just doesn't look the same because we're fighting against each other. So what society did, what the big guys upstairs did, is go, okay, look, tell you what, it's too expensive to get all these guns and machines, and let's just make the people of the earth fight against themselves. That's so much cheaper. We'll save loads of money, and we can get the entire world involved if we do that. So I always say, let's not fall for it. It's embarrassing. Let's not fall for the agenda of thinking that we are better off independent, single, and alone. The most important thing is marriage. And men do say to me, where are these women that you're referring to?
Yes, men, right? I'm telling you, it's like, you say, we can't find these women anywhere. Where are they?
They do exist.
They do?
My answer...
Where?
This is my answer to it, okay? If you're looking for her, you're not ready for her.
If you are looking for her, listen to this, gentlemen. If we're looking for this woman that we're looking for, then we're not ready. Why are we not ready?
Because when you're ready, God will bring her to you.
Oh my God, when you're ready, God will present her to you. Wow.
If you're looking, it's because God isn't bringing her to you, because it's not time. You're not ready. And someone put a comment in my post the other day saying, well, if you want me to find this woman, surely I have to look for her. You can't find it if you don't look for it. And the example I like to use, which is a very sweet example, is that I went for a walk recently. I literally have a church and a park here next to me. I went for a walk and I looked down and I saw a daisy, a little daisy flower, and I picked it up. And I like to use this example because I say I wasn't looking for a daisy, but I found one.
Wow.
So you don't have to be searching for it to have it, right? When you're presented with the woman, you'll recognize her. Become it. Become the husband. Every single person, male and female, has something they need to work on. I have to work on patience. I'm extremely impatient. I want it now. I want it now. But I can't have it now, and I have to be patient. I need to work on making sure I don't speak too sharply sometimes. Because sometimes I get excited or I get frustrated, and it comes out the same way. And it comes out sharp, and I don't want to pierce anyone with my words. And I certainly wouldn't want to pierce a man with my words, because my gift is my voice, and it's also my curse. So I need to work on how I communicate. That's something that I would work on as a wife. So we can't be arrogant enough to think that I'm perfect and I'm ready, and that there's nothing I need to work on. Like, we all have flaws, and it doesn't mean we're bad people. We're all loved. And
so Laura, since you're saying this, right, do you feel like before somebody says I do, it's almost like we're going to have to redefine how relationships are meant to work, especially when you're looking for marriage? I feel like a lot of us hurried into it. When I got into mine, I didn't even know the day I was getting married. Isn't that something? That's a story for another day.
That's a book.
Had no clue. Okay. The other person knew, but I didn't know. But I'm saying this to say, before we get to the place of I do, it's almost like, and I wish we lived in a world where you had that communal thing going on. I don't think we have a lot of that community anymore, where people can hold each other accountable in love, in grace. But I think there's a whole lot more that needs to happen before we say I do. I think because we think we're adults, nobody can tell us anything. We just rush into it, we get into it, and then, at the end of the day, right, we need God. I think God is the missing factor, because, I've seen people pretend. They will become what you want them, or they think you want them to be for that moment, until you say I do. And then once you say I do, it's like, oh my God, who is this person? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of discernment. And I think that marriage essentially is, when you look at marriage from the angle of, okay, all that I am is for the glory of God. All that I am. There's no aspect of my life that is outside of that equation. So if marriage is that important, then shouldn't it be the most important thing when it comes to my relationship with God? Shouldn't it be the most important thing when it comes to how I serve God? Shouldn't my marriage serve God? Shouldn't the marriage be all about advancing the kingdom of God, right? And so if it becomes that important, then it means it's not a, I think that in following Jesus, uh, it's become like once you kind of make that confession of faith, you're good. But the way they did it back in those days, man, when you counted the cost, man, it wasn't something you rushed in. There was no desire to say, yeah, man, I want to follow, because you understood you have to sit down and estimate the cost. You have to count the cost of following him. You see, but I don't think we see, if we saw marriage as that thing God wanted to last forever, which means during that timeline, you're going to have some ups, you're going to have some downs, you're going to have some frictions, and developing the character that will sustain it long term. I think that we won't be so quick to jump into it. I think we'll take the time to really get to know this person, and to make sure that you're following God's leading in the partner that you're choosing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think people do need to slow down, but I also think people need to focus on one individual. Like, if you like that person, focus all your time, energy, and attention on that person and see what happens. Because you'll either move closer to God or you'll move further away.
But some people are not teaching that. They're thinking you have to date these multiple people and then make a choice out of the best one.
I don't. I actually have an online course for dating, and I say, do not do that. Like, do not date multiple people at once. And realistically, from a woman's perspective, if I go on a date with someone and I really like that man, I'm not interested in dating anyone else. I'm not interested in texting anyone else. Because that's how women actually work. If they like someone, they're not interested in any other person. So if you're going out on all these dates, first of all, you can't really give that person all your time and attention because you're giving it to all these other guys as well.
And that's a big fear that men have also, Laura, where it's almost like, they don't like to, issues they have with a lot of single mothers out there. And I'm not saying all single mothers, I mean, there are great single mothers out there who did nothing, who played their role well, but still ended up a single mother. So I'm fully aware of that. But, men are wary of exes, just keeping all those doors open, keeping all those lines open. They're really scared about that, because, some of them, the experience is every time something happens, they fall back to an ex. They fall back to an ex. And these exes have all these inroads into the union. And so how do you expect the union to work?
Yeah, you can, unless there's kids involved where you have to have some kind of open dialogue, obviously. I believe that when you're not with anyone, you're not with them anymore. You close the door completely.
Wow.
And you do that before you meet anyone. So
I'll
say to my clients, if you're still texting an ex, you shouldn't be dating. You shouldn't be putting yourself out there at all because you're not ready yet, because you haven't let go of the past. Because I don't think it's fair for anyone to be in constant communication or in any communication. And why would you need to? Why do you need? You were in a relationship, it didn't work out. You can't be friends. You can't be friends. And why do you need to have that contact? And the only reason I would imagine, because I've had someone do this to me, was constantly contacting their ex, and it was because I was like, I feel like you're just looking for attention.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to be with him, so it made him feel powerful. Like, well, she wants me. I don't want her, but she wants me. And I'm like, but I don't get your attention because you're texting her. I said, you can't be with me and be with her at the same time. You have to pick. And in the end, I picked, and it was I'm leaving because it was really bad. You can't have a relationship.
You can't have those doors open. The snake to come in. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the man's role to protect. He's the jar with the lid. She goes inside. So if he's got the lid off, not only can she fall out in the jar, but he's letting the devil in. He's letting things in, which means that she's not safe. So you can't. When you're meeting someone, when you're dating someone, and you're getting to know someone, that should be the only person that you want giving attention to. So with that man as an example, I thought, I can't build with you. I can't get to know you because I know what you're doing. So I'm not going to even try and get to know you. I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to let this become anything because there's no room for me because she's there. So as well, it's like all the past should be gone. You are where you're at, and you're working on yourself, and you are wanting someone to love. It's not even about I want to be loved. Yes, that's a part of it. Of course we do. I want to be loved, but loving someone is more important. Being important in someone's life, being a main character in someone else's life. And you can look back at your life and go, well, I did all this because my wife helped me, or I did all this because my husband helped me. To be that person that's helped and served someone get to where they wanted to be, what an honor is that? It's not like, oh, I want a man so I can be worshipped and loved and get all the attention, because that just
platonic, superficial, it's hollow.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just hollow. It's empty. So, if you're someone that wants to be in contact with an ex because it gives you attention or it makes you think you're not alone, you're not ready to be with you're not ready for a real marriage, because you have to be okay with not getting attention. You have to be okay with, from the outside world, women that you see on social media, women, they're with someone, but they're going out into bars dressed like they're single. Like, why do you need...
I know you... sorry to intersect. I know you place a lot of emphasis on dressing, okay? And I'm telling you, when I say this, it sounds like... Sometimes it appears like, Sino, you've got to be crazy, because it appears like I'm the only one who talks about this. Like, what is it with Christian women? Women who go to church, they're in the choir, but when you see them, when you see how they present themselves, they're wearing bikinis, they're half naked, they're showing boobs, they're showing body. I mean, what is going on, Laura? Like, you're a lady. Tell me, is there something we're missing? Is there something? Why is it attention seeking? And and I think that, I don't know if the greatest downfall of women are other women, because you find a bunch of women praising, every time somebody comes out there showing half their body, you know what I mean? And then you see, even, I'm not even talking about people who don't know God. I'm talking about people who know God, right? And then on the bodies of some of these people, you see, anyway, I won't go there. But how do you feel about dressing? How do you feel about dressing? What's your concept on that for the woman, for the Christian or non-Christian? I mean, what's the appropriate way? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think we have to address the fact that if a woman is happy to be physically lusted upon by a stranger, there's a broken consciousness there somewhere.
Wow.
Because that's not normal. That's not sacred. Because what happens if you're dressing and there's intimate parts of you on display, men are going to look, women look, like everyone looks, because it's like, oh, wow, this woman's half naked sat next to me wherever we are. So it's going to get attention. It's not going to get the right attention, but it's going to get a glance. But what happens when a man lusts upon a woman sexually? He takes a piece of her.
Wow.
That's what he does. He takes a piece of her for himself to lust upon. So for a woman to be okay with all these men taking pieces of her, something's broken.
Wow.
So there's underneath there's compassion there, because something's broken. And what usually is broken, this is not for all women, but a lot of women have been through something quite sexual at a very young age. And so what that does is it tells the woman that sexuality isn't sacred, because any man can have it and any man can take it. So it gives this woman a message of, it doesn't matter if my chest is on display or my bum's on display, because it's not sacred. I was never taught that it was sacred, and it was worth protecting. So some women just don't have that. And for other women, it is attention. It is attention. It's like they think that unless they're sexy, they're not going to be wanted. They don't understand. Like, men. Look, I'm not a man, so whatever.
Yes, we're very visual human. Yes, we do. Men
are visual, but men also don't want everything up front. The men want to earn it. Men are they're pursuers. So there's nothing to pursue if everything's on display.
Yes.
So it's like the sensuality of uncovering things piece by piece is actually very stimulating for the man. But if you give everything over, it says it's got no value.
Why do they confuse men? Because when men see that and they start DMing you, you think, okay, I'm attracting all these men, but at the end of the day, how many of these men want to put a ring on your finger, right?
None.
because they will not want to marry. It's amazing that the men that will chase this kind of woman are still the same men who do not want to put a ring on the finger, because they kind of feel like, well, if you're showing all this stuff, it says a lot about who you are at your core.
Yeah, and women that want to be taken seriously as women, like how you dress is your portfolio. So if you show up half naked, you won't be taken seriously. I mean, if I was to even be hiring someone for my business, and I want a woman to be an assistant or something, if she showed up dressing a certain way, I wouldn't hire her. I can't take you seriously because you're not taking yourself seriously.
Wow.
So it's a projection of ourselves, and I think that, unfortunately, again, it's become normal, but I think a lot of women think that it's okay, and it's not wife material.
Wow.
I mean that in the nicest way. I don't mean that.
What is wife material?
In how she dresses, or in general?
General.
Wife material is a woman who knows that her gift that was ordained from God is to nurture every single person around her. So she carries her heart right in front of her, and she accepts her femininity. She doesn't devalue it. She protects her femininity. So when you walk around half naked, you're not protecting yourself, and that normally does come from the lack of masculine protection as a child. But you don't have that protection, so everything's on display. So a woman that's ready to be a wife, she knows who she is. She's worked on her character. She knows who she is. She likes who she is, but she also knows the parts of herself that are not really aligned with God. She has to know the dark side of herself as well, because she has to be able to control that, and she has to be able to work on that with the partner. So she's very self-aware, good and bad. And a woman that's ready to be a wife knows that her most important duty is to serve everyone around her. And not only that, she knows how to manipulate herself to be, and this is where I get a bad rep, she knows how to manipulate herself to be what everyone needs her to be. Wow. There's a dark side to that, because women do that. Oh, I'll just do this and he'll like me. They use it for the wrong reasons. But the right reasons is that she knows what everyone around her needs. That's the gift of a wife and a mother. She knows, and she definitely knows what her husband needs, and she provides that. So she's able to really give that over. So a woman that's a wife, she kind of has everything. She hasn't got everything in order, but she's certainly capable. She is confident in her skills as a woman, and her ability to be a woman, and she desires to be behind a man. Now, I don't mean behind as in you're not as good, but she's ready to be protected by a man, and she's ready to shine that light onto him, because if you imagine he's here and she's behind him, she's literally shining the light on him so that he can keep moving forward.
Wow.
So a woman that's not able to
but like we spoke earlier, a lot of women feel like they're living in the shadow of a man, and there's a lot of discontentment with that now. It wasn't like that. I couldn't even look at, I consider myself a bride to Christ, right? Like we are Christ's bride. I don't think I can ever look at Jesus and say, Jesus, I'm just tired of living in your shadow. I want my own shadow. I want my, I'm tired of, when am I going to start my own, you know what I mean? Like in a marriage union, I just don't see that concept there.
No, and it's the same with a man.
Wow.
So women that are wives say, oh my gosh, I will never get tired of walking with you.
Wow.
It doesn't exist. And then the man says the same thing to God. So, and then the children say, it's like a little trail.
Yes.
It's the same thing. It really is the same thing. Is that's how it would feel, because when you love a man, there's no other man, and all you want is the best for that man, and you'll actually learn to be better, because you'll never want to hurt that man. So you'll always be cautious in what you say and how you show up, and how you present yourself. Because again, if we go back to dressing, I dress for God.
Wow.
So if I was to walk around with a low cut top or something, I feel very ashamed of myself.
Wow.
Because it's such that there's certain parts of a woman's body that is extremely sacred and should only be seen by her husband.
Wow.
I believe, and that makes it even more special. It's not special if everyone's seen it.
So what do you think about, you see a lot of these Christian women with tattoos and their private areas, and it's a man who literally tattooed that. Like, rarely do you see, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
There's no conscience at all. And, I see it all over social media, Christian women coming up on, and you're seeing it all over the place. And it's like, how am I supposed to respect that?
Exactly. Well, it's very difficult to respect someone that doesn't respect themselves. But again, it goes back to that numbness or that broken consciousness where if you're okay having a man do that, some strange man that you don't know, like what's happened to make you not feel that? Because that would, to me, would be very,
Wow.
I don't know. I can imagine it be exposing and very uncomfortable, and I wouldn't want to do it. So if we are able to do that, there's probably numbness. But again, it goes back to a lot of people don't recognize sacred sexuality. They show their body up to everyone. And, I was in the spiritual New Agey community. And all these women wanted to, let's go to the beach and be naked. And let's go to, and I was like, I don't want to. But I thought, because I would always say no, and I'd be the odd one out, because everyone's running around, all these women want to be naked, and I'm there in, like, my clothes. And being in that setting, I thought there was something wrong with me. It was like, okay, what is it about me that doesn't, like, these women tell me that this is freeing. So what's wrong with me? Why don't I want to be free?
Wow.
And then as I got older, I was like, that's not freedom.
Wow.
It's freedom to actually keep my clothes on and say, this body's for my husband.
Wow.
But thanks. So there is shame in, again, it's all reversed, right? There's shame in wanting to just be seen by your husband. There's shame in wanting to even be a wife and a mother. It's like, no, you should be able to be naked and free, and you should drink this and take that and sleep with him. And it's like, I do believe, I was christened as a baby, and I believe that put the protection of God around me without me knowing it, because in all these environments where women were like, we're going to go and sleep with this guy, and we're going to go and drink that, and I was just like, no, I'm going to stay home. I don't want to do any of that. And I think it was because I felt that was so wrong. There was something in me that was like, I feel really uncomfortable with the idea of that. But again, I thought there was something wrong with me, because society says that it's normal.
Wow.
But it didn't feel right, so I didn't do it. And now I understand a little bit more about why, because I do believe God was protecting me.
Wow.
And I think that when people invite God into their heart, like really invite him into, they'll change what they're wearing.
Wow.
Because it's extremely uncomfortable to walk around half naked when God's watching. When you feel the presence of God, it's different, and you should fear God. I know people are like, oh no, all loving God. No, you should be afraid.
You should fear God. True. Final question for you, Laura. What should women look for in a man? What should men look for in a woman, given all the changes that are happening around the dynamics of a marriage now? What is it that people should be looking? What are some of the signs people should be looking for? I don't know if you teach this in some of your courses or classes. By the way, if you're not following Laura, make sure that you all follow her. Get onto her courses. I promise you, your life is going to change. Sign up for them courses. And please do. But tell us, what are some of the things a man should look for in a woman, and vice versa?
Okay, where should I start? Do you want me to start with women?
Whichever one you feel comfortable with. Yeah.
Well, some of them are actually quite similar. A woman who is marriage material is not interested in money.
Wait, say that. Wait. Is there a woman on the planet who is not interested in money? I guess you haven't finished your thought, so we're going to let you land. Let me let you finish your thought. Is there a woman on this planet who is not interested in a man with money?
No, she's not interested. It's actually...
I've never heard this, Laura. This is my first time of hearing it from you. Yes. Come on, man. Talk to me. Am I the only man? I have never heard it. This is part of the reason why I'm telling you a lot of men are scared. Because now they're being told you got to make a certain amount of money. The pressure, when women see men, okay, as providers, it's all about the money. It's almost like if the money is not there, the honey is not there. Like no money, no honey. You know what I mean? Like she's laughing. I'm telling you how men feel. I'm telling you, like it's scaring the heck out of us. You know, and we don't want to feel that pressure. We really don't.
I understand. I think someone in my question box today said, is there a connection? Like, do I have to have money to be able to be a husband? Someone actually asked that.
Yes, I saw the question. Yeah, you sent it. I saw it. Yeah.
I said, so a woman who's ready to be a wife is not interested in money.
A woman who is ready to be a wife is not interested in money. Never heard it. Never heard it.
No.
What?
See, because money is something that is built between the two of you.
Oh.
Even if he is the provider, even if he's the one going out and doing it, she's the one greeting him when he comes home, saying goodbye to him in the morning, making breakfast for him in the morning, making sure he's got lunch, making sure he's got dinner.
Making breakfast and lunch.
Right? So it's like,
Making breakfast and lunch? Oh my God. You know how many men will get so excited if they can find a woman who makes breakfast?
I can understand. See, because when I say this, men react like that. If I do a podcast with a man and I say these things, they're like, what are you talking about? Like,
It's foreign to us. It's foreign. It's foreign.
If you respect a man, if you love a man, if he wakes up at 3 a.m, rolls over and says, I'm hungry, you make him food. That is, and that's not a slavery thing. That's a, oh my gosh, here's an opportunity for me to say thank you to him, for me to love him, for me to work, like, honor him. Those little things are the best, and men don't need a lot. Men literally need these little things. Men don't ask for a lot of things.
I don't even know what that feels like. I have no concept. For 5.5 years, I have no concept of what it feels like to be served a meal, a single meal. Never had that concept. But go on.
Well, that makes me sad. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Well,
it's cool. So you know, when you say things like this, I can see why men are just like, you know, okay, you know, where are these women? You know what I mean? But go ahead with your original thought. You were going somewhere with that. So
she's not interested in the money.
She's not interested in the money.
She's not interested in money.
So you're saying she's not interested in the money, but she's interested in building that together with him.
Yes.
She amplifies everything that he does in that sense. Okay.
Yeah. So what that means is she needs to look for a man that's got that drive and that passion. He wants to do something. He's serving God. He's serving, you know, a higher power. So that man has got ambition. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants to do, and he wants to do these things. And he's probably already started doing them. Right.
Wow.
And then there's fruit, because some men are just like, oh yeah, you know, I want to do this and I want to do that. But if you see no fruit, then let's just talk. Like you look at a man's life. So look at a man's life, and first of all, you look at who's around him.
Wow.
Okay? So is he surrounded by women or exes? No, man, that's not the man that you want to be.
Yeah, I see.
Right? So he's not ready. You want to look for a man that wants to be married. So men that kind of go, oh, you know, let's see what happens. Let's go with the flow.
Wow, that's important. So look for men who are ready for marriage, not men who keep telling you, let's wait. And if they keep telling you that, it means they're not into you like that. They may just like whatever it is they're getting from you, but they're not really into you like that.
Yeah. And men can have women that hold that space until they find the real woman. You don't want to be a space saver for a man. That's very undignified.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right. So it's like a man that marriage is important to him, family is important to him, whatever that looks like. So you look at the life around him. Wow. You look at the men he hangs out with. If he's hanging out with men that are cheating on their wives, guilty by association.
Yeah.
Same with women.
Wow.
I could not be friends with a woman and see her every couple of days knowing that she's cheating on her husband and wants to tell me all about it.
Wow.
I can't hear it. I wouldn't know what to say. I would be uncomfortable, and I'd be saying to her, what are you doing?
Wow.
Right?
That's important. In fact, Laura, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, I'm not the one who is caught up to, you know, there's a difference between trying to judge somebody's past. We all have a past, we've made mistakes and so on and so forth. But the issue is when somebody's past is still very much their present, when you're still seeing the same patterns repeat themselves and they're very much alive in that person's present. It's almost like we're at a point now where you almost have to look at that. You know what I mean? You have to look at those patterns. You have to look at the past and make sure, okay, I hope this is not a repetition. I hope your past is still not your present. You know what I mean? You got to look at that. Not only that, you got to look at all the circles, like you're saying, the relationships around this person. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I kind of switched from men to women. Sorry.
No, it's cool. No, you can switch it. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm talking about men. So yeah, a man that has drive, has the ambition. Look at his past, and if he's still carrying all that with him. But then also look at the people he spends time with, and then look at what he does when no one's watching. Because you can tell what a man is doing when you're around him. You can tell what he did the day before. We can feel the energy of everything.
Wow.
Sorry to tell you this, but we know everything. So,
man, are you hearing that? Listen to these women. They know everything. So you're saying the intuition of a woman is so powerful. You guys can just pick up, especially from your own husbands that you become one with. You can tell something's off with this dude.
Something's wrong, or this man's lying, or this man's, we can tell if you're lying to protect us, and we can tell if you're lying
to deceive us. I see.
Yeah. So women have to know the difference as well, because one is coming from kindness and one is coming from something else. So women have to be aware of all these things. So you look at a person and you see where they are, and you see where they're heading, and you see what how men talk about their ex, or how men talk about people, how we all talk about people. If you're with him on a date with a man and all he can say is, my ex was this, and she was that, and she did this, and it's like, look, you got to decipher, because some people have been really messed up with, right? There's a barrier between, like, I'm telling you the story, and this is how I was hurt, and this is what I needed to fix. There's a difference between that and the man that has an attack, and he's still angry. You can tell when a man, and a woman too, you can tell when they're still angry at their ex, and the problem with that is that man will then take the anger out.
Carry that over into,
so if he's angry at her, he'll be angry at you. So those are kind of the things that women need to look for. But men, same thing. If she's texting all her exes, then she's not comfortable yet being on her own. And if she can't be on her own, then it means that you're going to have to emotionally provide for her more than you can probably stand. It can be too much. I believe that some men can't be emotionally available for a woman 24/7. So she needs to be okay with being on her own. She needs to be able to stand on her own and know who she is. That's really, really important. And you need to look at her life and what she's doing in her spare time. And how for women, it's more how is she reacting to things around her. So you can tell how emotionally intelligent a woman is by how she reacts to her environment. So some women, if they're not emotionally intelligent, they haven't harnessed their emotions yet, all these things happen to them and they react constantly to all these different things. And they have 17 billion different emotions in the day that a man cannot.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not wired like that. No, we're not.
You're not. We don't want you to be. So you stay where you are. That's absolutely fine. But women have to be able to know that. And, women can't expect men to read their mind. So a woman's got to be able to communicate. She has to be able to speak. Because the woman that says, I'm fine, when she's clearly not, that is exhausting. That's really tiring. So women have got to be able to say, no, I'm not okay, and this is why, and stop trying to get the man to read her mind. Because we can read each other as women, but men can't do that. So stop treating him like he's a woman, right? Stop treating him like
don't see him as another woman.
Yeah. So a man wants a woman who's ready for marriage, not still in the past, texting all the exes. A woman that's not looking for attention. It's very easy for women to get attention these days, especially because of social media. But, you know what I mean? Like a woman that's not looking for that. A woman that does want to serve and be a wife. A woman that's proud to want to be a wife.
Wow.
Because that woman, and she'll amplify everything that he has, and she'll add value, not just to you as the man. She adds a woman. Here we go. A woman who is ready to be a wife will not only amplify you, but she'll amplify your friends. She'll amplify your children. She'll amplify your cousins, your brothers, your sisters. She'll amplify every single person that touches your life because she amplifies you, and she loves you that it goes out onto everyone. Wow. So everyone around you, your cousins, brothers, sisters, sons, kids, everyone will say, I feel really good. We all had dinner with you and your wife, and I feel fantastic. I feel good when I speak to her because the love she has for you will then also pour onto your family because you're all the same blood. Wow. So if she loves your blood, she loves all the blood. She loves it all. So she speaks to your brother with kindness, your children with kindness, your sister with kindness, your mother, everyone. She speaks kindness and love to everyone connected to you. So she has her whole life. So a woman that's still stuck in the past can't do that. A woman that's looking for attention from others can't do that. You know, a woman who is still angry at her ex-husband can't do that.
Wow.
Because again, she's mad at him, so she'll take it out on you.
Wow. Wow. Well, I hope we did justice to the subject, why men fear rings and women embrace wings. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this podcast. Of course, I'm going to give Laura the final words to say. And if I had one last thing I would love you to just touch on, would be, you know, the emphasis on why you feel marriage is that important, why we need each other, why we shouldn't allow the enemy to make us feel like the women are the enemy, the men are the enemy. Just if nothing else, the consciousness of we need each other. We really do. Unlike the way the world is saying it, I don't need a man, I don't need her, we truly do need each other. This is God's program for us in order to fulfill God's plan in the earth for us. So, but I want people to follow you. Can you briefly tell us how we can do that? Because I think we're going to edit this and put it on all of our platforms and so on and so forth. So this was just raw. Trying to figure out some issues with the sound the last time. But how do people find you?
So my website is reignitingwomen.com.
Reignitingwomen.com, okay.
And if people follow me and then go to the link in my bio, you've got my website and you've got, you know, all my social medias have the same name. So TikTok, Facebook, it's all Reigniting Women.
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, okay.
It's all the same name. And then if they go to my website, there's a free masterclass there for women to check out.
Tell us a little bit about your classes. What are some of the things you teach?
I get to teach.
Yes.
I get to teach. Well, I have a class coming up in 2 weeks, how to spot husband material.
All the women need to get on there. How to spot husband material. I need to get on there myself. And the brothers you invited too. It's not just for the ladies.
Oh no, it is for the ladies. I don't teach men. So there's the other thing. I do not, because men ask me to coach them a lot, and I don't do it. I send them to you.
Okay.
Or I send them to a couple of other coaches I know that
I welcome them. I've got some experience in that area, but that's good.
Because I don't believe women should lead men. We talked about that in the last one. I think we talked about it. I don't believe it's my place to lead a man. It's not biblically sound either.
Are you all hearing that? She doesn't believe it's a woman's place to lead a man. Now, you know, a lot of women act like they will it's almost like we have to take permission. You hear us say, let me lead. And yet, you know, God has called us to lead. I don't think we need permission to lead. It's like saying, I need permission to be a man. But men are beginning to hear themselves say that, give me permission to lead, I need to lead. And then you hear ladies on the other hand say, well, you know, if he led a certain way, I would. So what men, you know, I believe like the way the word husband means to cultivate, right? It means to bring out the best in something, right? To cultivate. It means a lot. But that's what the word husbandry means. A lot of the issues men are having is they feel like they are not sure if these women nowadays are teachable, are even willing to learn. This is why when a correction comes from a husband, he finds resistance. But then if a stranger gives the same advice, it's received with warmth, right? What's going on with that? Like, why do you believe that it's the fundamental call of a man to lead, and women shouldn't be trying to lead their men?
Well, I mean, Adam was made first.
Yes.
So the woman said to help and not lead, and I do believe it was you that told me about the downfall of Eden, where the curse of the woman was to try to overtake the man.
Yes, so the part of the curse is, the way God put it is that she would try to exert control over the man, but the man would rule over her.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Sorry, I made my hand like that. I feel like I'm teaching or something.
Well, I think we have to be teachable in general. I think someone that thinks they know everything. I mean, the people that think they know everything usually.
And men can pick up on that. Men can pick up when a woman is teachable. If they try to communicate and they feel that resistance, they withdraw. They may totally stop doing it because they know nothing good comes out of it.
Yes.
From a man's perspective.
Yeah, I mean that. If we can add that to the list of what makes a good husband, is you want a man that knows more than you. Especially if a woman has been independent for a long time. Like if you still want to be independent, then free will, on your head be it. Like, but if I think that when a woman's been so strong and independent for so long,
yes, it's hard to revert.
You naturally want to just be like, can someone lead me and teach me? I want to learn something, and it's very difficult for a woman to respect a man who doesn't know as much as her.
Wow.
So, like, if she's done loads of things and been worldly and done, then great, but you need a man that's done more, that knows more, and it takes. I don't know if it's being humble. Maybe it's vulnerability.
And I think that, sorry to deviate a little bit here, but I think that's the part of, I feel like, why God wants us to stay pure, not sleep around before we get married, because you know when you have all these experiences, it's like then you want the next man or the next woman to start delivering based on all the experiences.
Yeah.
Man, God knows better, man. I think it's time for us to just finally say, God knows better. Let's do it His way. We'll succeed.
Yes, and that's women submit to God and submit to the path that God has for them. I think men do the same, but women need to learn. Like, there's so many women in the world that say, I'm in control of my life, I know what I want, I know what's best for me, and I'm going to go after it. And I say, go on then, but you're wandering off into the darkness because God's path is lit up.
Wow, I like that. You're wandering into the dark because God's path is lit up. Wow.
God's path is lit up, so God says, this is the path. And you submit to that and say, okay, so that's the safest path because the path was designed for you. There's lights. No one's going to bump into you and hit you and hurt you because they can see that you're there. And not only that, you won't be alone because you are seen under the light of God. Wow. So the second a woman says, I'm going to manifest this life and I'm going to go do that and I know better, she's wandering onto Satan's path. She's wandering off into the dark where no one can see her, where no one can find her, and where she'll be alone because no one knows she's there. We don't want to go on that path. You need to follow God's path. And when you're married, you both have a path together. So his lit path leads to her lit path leads to his kingdom, and then they create. God has a path for them together. You know.
So it's almost like I'm hearing you say one of the most beautiful things that God ever made is marriage. But even from the beginning, Satan distorted it to make it look like the most. I mean, look at how afraid we've become. And even my sisters, it's almost like, man, you know, it's like, what's the use of marriage? That sacredness that came with it, that respect that came with it, I think we've lost consciousness of that. We've commonized it, we've minimized it, you know, and so there's no respect of it anymore. And yet the most beautiful thing that God made is now becoming the most hated thing that God made. Does that make sense?
Yes. And the voice in your head that says, there's no importance in marriage, that's not your voice, that's the devil's voice.
Wow.
He uses things against us, he uses our own voice against us. So that voice that says, no, I don't want to get married, what's the point? That's not your voice, that's demonic. That's not of God, and we're created from God. We're created by God, so that's not a godly voice, because God said marriage is family is the most important thing. That's what I'm going to create, and it's so important. I'm going to create them a world, I'm going to create them trees, I'm going to bring them animals, I'm going to bring them each other, because I want them to have everything that they need. So any voice that speaks the opposite is not of God, and if it's not from God, I wouldn't recommend listening to that. So some people have to also separate the voice. It's not their voice.
Thank you so much, Laura. Come on, people, let's give Laura a big thank you, and we are so proud of you. And I'm asking everybody to lift up this amazing woman. Please pray for her ministry. I've told her tons of times that, you know, you're not just an echo, you're a voice. And this is why a lot of people are being so refreshed by your message. Thank God for your mindset and just the way you've allowed God to continue to work His mighty work in your life. So I I know we're coming up again. Sorry, I don't have the date here. But
it's in a month.
It's
So
in a
it's
month.
Yeah, it's in 4 weeks. I don't have
August, is it the second week, the second Monday in August, I think. If not, you'll just follow, right? We'll make sure you guys get the memo. But thank you so much. Are there any last words you have for us before we officially close? And please remember, if you have questions that you want to ask, you can ask them to Laura, you can send them to her, you can send them to me, you can send them to both of us. We're going to look through them and see which ones that we can answer. I think we're going to have maybe next time a segment where we can take a few of those questions and answer them directly so people know we're at least answering their questions or something like that.
Yes. Well, I think I don't want to have the last word. I feel like you should have the last word and a prayer.
Okay.
Maybe a prayer. Because I feel like I've said everything.
I got you.
That I think it should be closed by a man.
Okay.
So
let's do it.
It's all on you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for listening. I hope you guys were so blessed. I hope you are taking away a few things. And we just want to say to those of you who are at a crossroads where you don't know, what step to take in terms of your own personal relationship with God, I want to really encourage you to just open your heart. God is listening. Just if there's an area of confusion, ask Him to bring clarity in that area. I believe that God is going to listen to that prayer, and I believe that God is going to hear that prayer, right? We all need God. Whether you feel like you don't, I'm telling you, at some point you're going to fully realize, if you haven't already, that we need Him. We need Him in our lives. We need Him in every aspect of our lives. We're praying over your marriages, whether you had a broken marriage, that God is going to restore it, and that God is going to fulfill that heart desire for family. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to lead us in a short prayer. If you bow your heads wherever you are, and we're just going to pray. Father, we just want to say thank you for this podcast. Thank you for your daughter, Laura. Thank you for all the viewers that came on to listen. Lord, we're not just here making videos. We're praying that your influence, your impact, your life will be experienced by everybody who comes across this. And I'm praying that even in these days, God, that you help us focus on the things that are most important to you, to your heart, to your kingdom, that will focus on the essentials, and you help us live a most fulfilling life in you, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen and amen. All right, people, we love you all. God bless you. Make sure you share this, share it to your friends, family, colleagues, everybody. Make sure you share it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Laura.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Facebook. Bye, YouTube.